Something is wrong, terribly wrong. Across the world's observatories, the unthinkable has happened. Astronomers, people who dedicate their lives to predicting the movement of planets, stars and galaxies, with razor-sharp precision, have admitted it. They miscalculated the orbit of 3I Atlas. Think about that for a moment. Every day, these same experts track asteroids the size of cars from millions of miles away. They predict eclipses to the second. They chart the dance of moons and planets, centuries into the future. Their work is built on centuries of physics and mathematics, the most reliable science humanity has. And yet, with 3I Atlas, everything collapsed. We were told this mysterious interstellar object would simply pass by, that it would slingshot past our sun and vanish back into the darkness of deep space, that it posed no threat, no mystery, no danger. But now those predictions are gone. The numbers no longer make sense. And the new data, it's worse than anyone dared to imagine, because this isn't just about a miscalculation. It's about something bigger, something stranger, something that might mean the laws of motion, the very rules of the universe, aren't as unbreakable as we thought. When the best minds in science admit they got it wrong, you know something extraordinary is happening. And when the new answer is more terrifying than the first, you know we're standing on the edge of something we don't yet understand. Let's rewind back to the moment 3I Atlas first entered our skies. When telescopes first picked it up, astronomers raced to calculate its orbit. That's standard procedure. Track its speed, plot its position, run computer models, and predict where it's going. It's the same process used to forecast asteroid flybys and comet returns. At first, the math seemed straightforward. 3I Atlas was moving fast, extremely fast, nearly 130,000 mmep. But that speed made sense. After all, it wasn't from here. It came from interstellar space, like Oumuamua before it, a cosmic drifter entering our solar system on a one-way path. The models showed it would pass by safely. Charts were published, diagrams circulated. Space agencies around the world reassured the public. This object poses no risk. It will swing by and continue on its way. For weeks, those predictions held. Every observation, every data point seemed to line up. It was treated almost like a curiosity, not a threat. Astronomers gave interviews explaining that, while 3I Atlas was strange, it wasn't dangerous. Nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. But here's the truth. 3I Atlas doesn't play by our rules. As the weeks passed, small discrepancies began to appear. Tiny deviations in its path, shifts in its brightness that didn't match a normal comet, energy signatures that didn't belong. At first, scientists brushed them off. Perhaps it was dust jets, perhaps instrument error. But the anomalies grew. The predictions, once so precise, began to unravel. And suddenly, the numbers no longer matched reality. This was more than a rounding error. More than a miscalculation. It was the first sign that something far stranger was happening. Because in astronomy, objects don't just wander off their paths. Physics doesn't change its mind overnight. But 3I Atlas did. And that's where the story breaks wide open. This is where things started to unravel. As the data piled up, astronomers began noticing something they hate: inconsistency. Numbers that didn't agree. Velocities that shifted from one observation to the next. Angles of trajectory that couldn't be explained by gravity alone. For example, a comet or asteroid should dim and brighten based on distance from the sun and the angle of sunlight. But 3I Atlas didn't follow that rule. Sometimes it flared with bursts of energy even when no solar interaction was expected. Other times it dimmed as though something was deliberately suppressing its light. And then came the strangest part. When scientists plugged the new measurements into their models, the simulations collapsed. The path that once looked smooth now looked fractured, jagged, unpredictable, almost as if the object wasn't traveling on one path at all, but jumping between many. Think about what that means. If an asteroid ignores gravity, if it refuses to behave like matter should, then what exactly are we tracking? For weeks, agencies tried to stay quiet. Data was revised. Numbers were adjusted. But behind the scenes, panic was spreading. Because space is precise. It doesn't make mistakes. When something doesn't add up, the universe isn't wrong. We are. And that's when whispers began to circulate in the astronomy community. What if this isn't just a miscalculation? What if something else is moving 3I Atlas? The cracks were no longer just in the numbers. They were in reality itself. Then came the admission. Astronomers finally stepped forward and said the words no one wanted to hear. We got it wrong. The orbit wasn't safe. The predictions weren't reliable. And the new trajectory, it was worse than the first. Instead of drifting harmlessly past the sun and out into deep space, 3I Atlas appeared to be veering ever so slightly inward, toward the planets, toward us. To be clear, this doesn't mean a collision is guaranteed, but here's why it's terrifying. Even a tiny deviation in an interstellar object can shift its path by millions of miles. And when the object in question already ignores known physics, how can anyone be sure where it will go? Reports began surfacing that the object had accelerated at times without cause, that its brightness spikes might not be natural gas jets, but bursts of energy unlike anything seen from a comet, that its orbit, instead of being clean and predictable, looked manipulated. Some scientists quietly asked the question, what if this is not a comet at all? Because natural objects don't vanish and reappear. They don't accelerate against gravity, and they certainly don't defy every calculation thrown at them. The chilling thought began to spread. What if Atlas is being guided? If that's true, then every prediction is meaningless. Every chart, every simulation, every comforting statement from agencies is nothing more than guesswork. And the one truth left is simple. If 3I Atlas can change its path once, it can do it again. And the next time it could shift right into Earth's way. That's the cliffhanger scientists are staring at right now. They admitted they miscalculated. But what if the real truth is that 3I Atlas can't be calculated at all? When the word miscalculation broke into the open, the scientific community scrambled. Everyone wanted an explanation. Everyone wanted to know how a supposedly well-tracked interstellar object could suddenly refuse to obey math. The official theories began rolling in. Some astronomers blamed a gravitational anomaly. Maybe 3I Atlas had skimmed too close to something hidden. A massive object lurking in the dark. A black hole. A rogue planet. Something big enough to tug it off course. But here's the problem. No such object has been found. The sky surveys are clean. And gravity, as far as we know, doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Others suggested outgassing, the classic comet explanation, jets of gas erupting from beneath the surface, pushing it unpredictably. And while that works for ordinary comets, it doesn't explain why 3I Atlas sometimes accelerates toward the sun when no jets are visible at all. A third group whispered about particles we haven't yet discovered. Exotic matter, dark energy interactions, forces so subtle we can't yet measure them. Maybe 3I Atlas is teaching us something new about the universe. But if that's true, the scale of what we don't know just got terrifyingly bigger. And then came the fringe ideas, the ones scientists never say out loud at conferences, but whisper in private. What if this isn't a rock at all? What if this is artificial? Think about it. A machine designed to move exactly where it wants to, ignoring gravity, dodging predictions, reappearing where no telescope expects it. A probe, a test, maybe even a weapon. If that sounds like science fiction, remember the first interstellar object, Oumuamua, was already suspected by some to be artificial. Now 3I Atlas is rewriting that mystery on an even bigger, more dangerous scale. And here's the question that chills everyone. If it's artificial, then who put it there? And what do they want? Because either way, whether it's natural and rewriting physics or artificial and rewriting history, the rules we thought kept us safe no longer apply. So why does this matter? Because unpredictability is the most dangerous thing in space. If a comet is on a predictable orbit, you can chart it, study it, prepare for it. But if an object ignores physics, then every prediction falls apart. And so does every defense we've built to feel safe. Imagine this. 3I Atlas continues to shift its path at will. Today it's a few million miles off. Tomorrow it could be inside Earth's orbit. And the day after that, no one can say.